Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Gun Cranks. We are the Mount Rushmore of online gun shows. I'm Guns Magazine editor. I was waiting for the laugh.
I know, I was trying to get my head around that one. Yeah.
I never try these out on the guys because I want to get an honest reaction, and the reaction I normally get is stunned silence. So one of these days I'll get something from them.
No, I'm Guns Magazine. Like, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, okay. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, along with American Handgunner editor Tom McHale and Special Assignments editor Roy Huntington, and we are the Gun Cranks. And today we've got a fun show. We're going to talk about what is going to be a classic 20 years from now. I'll just start it right out by saying, Roy, you've already said nothing. So what's your thoughts on this?
There you go. Show's over.
Sure, take my thunder away. Here I was waiting to say nothing, and
Nothing.
You just stole it from me. Well, you know, when you mentioned the show, I mean, I really tried hard to think what is a modern classic. And so I kind of went back maybe 10 years, you know, and I can't think of a single one. I can't think of a single one. I mean, there's a lot of good guns out there. There's a lot of guns I own. There's a lot of guns I would recommend people buy. You know, I don't know if the modern Pythons are going to be considered classics in their own right in the future, or still riding on the wave of their, you know, ancestors. And, you know, 1911s and high powers and, you know, Lugers and classic Model 70 Winchesters. And I mean, is a Polymer stock $300 bolt action hunting rifle today going to be considered a classic, even though it outshoots the older classic guns, you know? And I mean, I submit to you guys, be smarter than me, and if there's something who you think 30 years from now, old guys
Roy,
like us are
you
going to
ignorant
say
slut.
classic. Go ahead.
Let us set you straight.
You finally got it out.
Yeah.
Tom's wanted to say that for a year.
Yep. I'm going to throw my vote in for the optimized 9mm 1911. Think something like a Springfield Armory EMP, for example. Several varieties now, but everything's sized just right for the shorter 9mm cartridge. Real metal of various types, depending on your configuration, and just beautiful guns all around. Timeless and classic. Now I know it's a little bit of cheating because it's an extension of another classic, but I think it defines a new classic.
It's not a little bit of cheating, it's cheating, period. So.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying. So
because let's counter that and say, well, then what about the new Smith & Wesson, what is it, CRS, the new aluminum frame 9mm that, you know, single action and all that kind of stuff? It's like exactly the same, except it's not a 1911. So it's going to go by the wayside 10 years from now. Everyone's going to say, what the hell's that, you know?
I'm going to go old school, and this will get Roy's heart going pity-pat and a lot of our viewers. First of all, even though it's not a brand new Polymer Striker 9, but I think the Ruger Blackhawk was such a redefining moment in the whole single action era that it's going to continue on, and I think it changed things. So I see it still being made, but I still see it being considered one of the watershed guns of the last 50 years. Wouldn't you agree, Roy?
Yeah, but that's 50 years ago. I mean, if you're going to do that, then see, we can talk about Pythons and, you know, other.
Well, it's a modern classic.
It's not a modern classic.
Can we go back like 10 years or so?
Okay.
Yeah, go back 10
Since
years.
I'm on a 1911 kick, I'm going to throw a 2011 into the ring, because that's 1,000 better than a 1911 if you do the math on it. So, no, but seriously, I mean, it's a cool thing. Again, an extension of the 1911 concept, but I bet you 10 years from now, you're going to see a whole lot of those things.
I think we need to define, though, what is it that we're thinking about when we say classic? And so for me, it's elements of design, elements of manufacture, the beauty of the firearm. You know, maybe there's some history that's significant about it, like a Colt in the Old West, you know, kind of a thing. And when I look at modern guns, they may have one of those categories, but, you know, a Polymer frame 2011, you know, to me, it's just not a classic. I mean, it's practical, it's useful, it's based on a classic design. But will our hearts beat pitter patter over that gun the way they do a royal blue Colt Python today?
Well, you realize, Roy, by saying what I said, I was actually agreeing with you. I didn't realize it at the time, but I couldn't think of anything newer than 50 years that is going to be a classic. So
God, you're old.
I guess I just came over to your side, Roy.
Kind of by accident.
Okay, so one might make a case that the 1911 platform became a classic because of its storied military history in the first half of the 20th century. What say you guys about a similar thing with the Beretta 92 and similar platforms down the road?
No.
Okay, watch Tom's head explode.
See, that's a really nice...
The 92?
Yes.
No. No.
You guys know nothing.
Tom, you're the only one in America that likes a 92. That in the U.S. military.
The first gun I carried on a daily basis was a Beretta 92.
That's why you like it. I mean, you're emotionally invested.
It's
totally
okay to say that something's cool, but because they are. I mean, there's a lot of cool guns, today. But the ones that seem to get people's hearts beating, even younger shooters, are the guns that are based on the classics. And so, a modern influencer reviews a modern Python, and the first thing they do is reference the history and the ancestry, to sort of justify the modern design. And I like a Taurus Judge. I carry one in my tractor all the time, and they've sold gazillions of them and everything. But is there anything classic about it? Am I going to pine in wishfulness someday because I sold my Taurus Judge? Probably not. Or my Glock, and fill in the blank there. So I may be completely wrong about all this. Go ahead.
It's a new design. It's revolutionary. It's something that is definitely, a product of our technological advancements. The Altor Pistol.
Dun dun dun.
All $109 worth. It's as revolutionary as anything in the last 10 years.
Let's look at cars for a second. Okay, the cars. A true classic, according to the Classic Car Club, they're very definitive. Early Lincolns and a 34 Packard with a Darren body, and there's a 32 Rio isn't a classic. Okay, it's old and it's cool, right? But it's not a classic, and so there are a lot of things like that with cars. A model. Is a Model A, people say it's a classic old car, but it doesn't meet the criteria to be a part of the classic car organization. So, so what is the secret? Is it if it's a commodity, then it's not going to be a classic later on? To me, it's does it get your heart? Do you look at it like, okay, a modern classic, although it's not going to work, but a modern classic, look at a Turnbull, a restored firearm. Okay, beautiful. There they are. They do it. Now, Turnbull's doing Turnbullized modern guns, except one thing. The vast majority of the modern guns he's doing are old classic designs. Single action Rugers and 1911s and lever actions and Brownings 1885s and stuff like that. So if he Turnbullizes something modern, I've got an LCP Max with a Turnbull hard or case hardened slide. Will I ever think that's a classic gun now? So I don't know.
Well, a lot of it is in the beauty in the eye of the beholder thing, because today the people that are 25 pining for a Chevy Yukon, in 20 or 30 years, man, I've got a restored Yukon and it's the coolest thing ever. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe we're old and we don't appreciate the stuff of today. We just appreciate what was made our heart go pitter patter back in the day, especially stuff that we pined for and couldn't have. And
Ruger
the second thing I'll make Yeah, yeah. And the second thing I will say about this is one of those discussions we ought to be having around a campfire with some brown liquid. This is like heavy, looking back, looking forward stuff.
Well, for me, it's yes, 1022. I agree with you. It's iconic. It's a lot of things. Will it be a classic? I don't think so. In other words, it's
years from now. Will it make your heart go pitter patter?
Yeah, I don't.
Doesn't
think
mean there can't be a lot of them.
It'll be. Oh, I remember those. I had one when I was a kid, like a Glock. I'm wondering, will a 25-year-old today, 50 years from now, see a Glock 19 someplace and go, wow, boy, those were the good old days.
When you think about it, because in 50 years, they may be using rail guns or plasma guns or who knows. So yeah, that technology will be so old and dated, it will be a classic.
But what is the hook, though? In other words, if you see the coolest, bestest polymer, high-capacity 9mm pistol today on a table, and next to it is a mint-condition Colt single-action Army first generation, with engraving and ivory grips, which one is going to make your heart go pitter-patter? I'm going to look at one like I would look at a nice wrench set, from Snap-on. And then the other one I would look upon as art and, jewelry and, so it's intangible, but it's the difference.
I completely agree with you, but I think a 25-year-old would be going, look at that Glock, man. I want that Glock.
I know.
And that's just
aftermarket trigger.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just,
it's got an Apex trigger, Yeah.
I don't know.
I think as you get older, you appreciate stuff like that.
I think we're seeing a little trend nowadays. If you notice the number of guns coming out in all metal versions, like there's classic polymer guns, classic not in the sense we're talking. I'm talking traditionally polymer guns coming out in all metal versions. That compact Smith & Wesson you talked about. Now I know that wasn't originally on polymer, but the genre has all been polymer until then, right? What did I just? I think I just heard recently. M&P's got a metal gun now, right? And I know Sig's been doing a lot of that with their 320 line in various forms and fashions. So interesting trend. I like it.
But I will say though, metal doesn't make it a classic. I think I want to go back and focus on what Roy said, which is guns nowadays. Most of the mass market guns, by virtue of how they're made, are commodity guns. There's not a lot of handwork, hand fitting. I think, to me, in my age, that's what's cool about these old guns. The guy probably had a file and he had a drill press, and there was a lot more hand fitting and hand building of the gun than what today is. Basically, it goes down a line and then a person throws it together. So that to me is what I value in an old gun and what makes it a classic to me. But like I said, if you're 25 watching this today, that Glock may turn you on, and I guess it's okay.
I think it has to have a certain innate value in design and art, and history, and that's what makes something a classic. And even if a Glock, was adopted by the military or something like that, it's missing the other two categories to me. Design elements and Japanese. If in Japan, they will make people national treasures, right? Because you're the best basket maker, or you're the best potter, or you're the best whatever. They make national treasures. And so if we look at it like that, what modern gun that we're seeing right now would we make a national treasure? And I don't have any on my list. If you ask me which older guns would I make a national treasure, a Python. It truly is iconic. And a classic Model 29, a classic pre-war 1911. And I think nobody here is going to argue with that. But I can't apply those same things to modern guns. It's just me. I don't know.
I still think we're gonna see a little of that interest in the Beretta platform down the road. And to go back to what you just said, Roy, in all seriousness, it's got the bones for art. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure you guys have seen them too. Beretta themselves and others have done absolutely stunning work with that basic platform. I'm talking single action versions and, just handcrafted pieces of art with that. It's an interesting platform, So,
well, I
wouldn't rule that one out for long-term interest down the road.
I hear you. And I don't know, I disagree, but I can see where it could happen.
Well, you can be wrong. That's okay.
I just wrote up that, is it Cosme shotgun?
Cosme shotgun, yeah.
Cosme shotgun. Now, okay, that's, I think, qualifies as a classic. I mean, it's beautifully done. It's amazingly engineered. It's eye candy at every level, although it is based on a gun that was made 50 years ago, so maybe it doesn't qualify because it's actually a continuation of that history. So if we look at SIG's new military issue gun, I can't think of the name of it right now. What is it, 320?
I mean, it's basically a 320 platform, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than the fact that the soldiers who've been using it will probably always have a bit of a soft spot for it, I think 40 years from now, if there are still any around anywhere that they haven't turned brittle because of exposure to sunlight or something, I mean, are people going to look at them and go, wow, what a classic? Or are they going to say, oh, that's one of those old military guns, like a Beretta 92? Oh, sorry, that slipped out. Yeah.
Well, I think it's time to throw this out to viewers. Comment below, what do you think will become a classic in the next couple of decades? Let us know.
I would love.
Well, you know what amazes me,
say.
guys, and I was going to jump in here, and this is a perfect time for it. Normally, we're kind of mostly on the same page, at least in the same church on all of our topics. We pretty much don't agree on any of this stuff. That's pretty rare. So I'm looking forward to the comments down below that may be quite lively. So is it a classic? Will it be a classic, or is that era gone? So tell us what you think, and by then maybe we will have agreed on some point of it, other than the fact that we all agree that the Beretta 92 is not a classic. But no, sorry, I know, Tom, you love it, but.
Hey, I'm the producer in this episode, so I'm going to mute you.
Okay. I had one thing, though, before we wind it up. One thing, and that is, look at modern Bentleys and Rolls Royces. Look at them. They look like every other car on the road, basically. And then look at a 54 Rolls Royce or a 54 Bentley or something like that. I don't think 30 years from now, people are going to look at today's Bentleys and Rolls Royces and say, boy, those were classic designs, because they're not.
Says the guy with a vintage Bentley in his garage.
Yeah, but it's old.
No emotional attachment there.
Right.
All right.
Okay. That was fun.
Well, I think we might do part 2, 3, or 4 on this one, because we pretty much... We didn't come to any common ground here, and that's pretty unusual for the Gun Cranks. So once again, leave us comments down there. Make sure you check out gunsmagazine.com, americanhandgunner.com, americancop.com, and the Guns Magazine podcast on your favorite podcast directory. And we have special interest publications. We got a new one out. Tom?
Old West, Stories of the Old West, guns and gear and history. So check it out. Newsstands everywhere. You can also get to it through americanhandgunner.com or gunsmagazine.com.
And Amazon, I believe, correct?
And Amazon, yep.
It's been a very interesting episode, and it's been fun talking with these guys. I can see us having this discussion sometime face to face, and probably still not agreeing on anything, and Tom being upset because we're maligning his beloved Beretta 92. So
it's lonely being right sometimes.
Yes.
Exactly. On behalf of Tom McHale and Roy Huntington, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, and we'll see you next time.